So just having the pattern on the clothing is not enough to go like, hey, that looks like a real piece of cloth. What we should actually be doing is look up like a knight's tunic or something like that, right? You could see how, even though this is probably Ren Fair stuff, but you could see how along the edges of the cloth there will be a trim piece, along with the pattern, not just a flat pattern throughout. Let's see, medieval uh, knight. So right here, oh, that's really poorly done. See, this person put in so much work here on all this detail on the armor, and then just kind of dropped the ball, I think, when it came to the cloth part. Right here, you can see how they would sew in like an outer piece to it. That looks fake. I don't want paintings. I want actual. Yeah. Yeah. Anyways, probably looking at movies is probably the better way to do it because they do want that stuff to look good. But again, right here you can see how the cloth pattern goes. Okay. Anyways, enough of that. And then we can actually paint that in. How do I find the color that is this sort of light color on that lion? I'm going to bring this back up to about 100% right now. I'm going to set this on normal. And now I can color pick, sort of the light value of that lion and sort of this like darker blue value. I'm going to set this back on overlay and lower that back down to about 65%. All right. And now I can actually paint in the trim, and it should match the colors and values of this guy. And I might actually need to do more than that now that I look at this. Also, remember how on these costumes, there's usually a seam down the middle, like they cut it down the middle so that the knight can actually, ride a horse. The legs need to be able to get wide enough. So over here, there's probably going to be a seam. You see how I just did that? See how that just suddenly separated? And then this would be the inner edge of this. Paying attention to this kind of detail is going to be important. Because sometimes you'll look at a piece and just not really, you're like, I don't know why, but it just doesn't feel finished. And after you do some research on it, that's when you realize like, oh, it's missing something. And so there wouldn't be a pattern in between these pieces of cloth like that. Do that. Take that in. Right there. And I've got the dark pattern here too, so where it kind of recesses, I just want to paint it a little darker. That just gives it slightly more realism. And if you're still not happy with that, we can go over it on the top layer later and really, really polish it. like there still needs to be a lot of work done in order for this thing to really get polished. Like for example, the details on this knife, like what is in the shadow right here. Usually there's some kind of a grip to it. Same thing here. What's in the shadow right here. And sometimes you go too dark and then have to really check yourself. What really helps is if you just kind of bring it back and squint a little and you're seeing like, oh, is that popping out too much? What I just did. And after a while, you kind of are able to train your eye a little better. See, like that, painted that part in. This part, I'm just color picking by holding down Alt and then painting in opaquely over the top of it later. Same thing here. Just got to paint in that shadow part where that seam is. And then the highlights over here. So probably pick like a highlight from here. Oh, that's too bright. See, you can really mess up. That's too bright. So it's a little better. So the top of this would get hit by a little bit of light. Because again, even though it's cloth, it's got some thickness to it. So it would have a little bit of that here and there. And then these shadows, I can finally get a little bit more sort of more braver with it, more brave with it, where I'm just painting that stuff in more opaquely. Instead of this thing just constantly feeling like it's made out of mashed potatoes, like it's mush right now, I'm just adding in some defined hard edges to it. And again, you can just detail for days too. Like you could go like, oh, there could be a pattern pressed in the leather. And you really have to determine, time management skills on that one. Is it worth it? Because are people actually going to see it? Is that actually where I want people's eyes to go? Maybe not. Maybe yes. It's a question that artists have to ask all the time. Ooh, that's kind of creepy. That feels like a Terminator. It's like a I'm just thinking like this is glossy and this crystal is glowing, and so this is going to reflect a little bit of it. And so I'm just going in and just kind of putting in some highlight reflections, and then I'm going to paint it out or erase it out. And probably went too hard with that. So I'm just going to erase out a little bit. All right. So we've kind of finished off the tunic to feel a little bit more realistic based on very quick research. Um, may also want to like add in a little bit of that here to the edge here, since we know that this is the style of the way they sew their clothes. Just painting this part in. You can always detail for days, but I don't have time for that. The tricky thing about rim lighting is what is the light source of the rim light? Like, is this person, I don't know, in a cave, and but there has to be a light source behind this person, or in order to justify part of that rim light. So I don't know. Let's look at the master rim light, which is I think is Drew Struzan. See, that's rim lighting right there, right? He's got like a spotlight behind him and hitting the top of his head right there. The hair, that glorious hair on George Lucas right there, it's getting hit with a lot of rim light. Same thing here, right? Let's see. What? No, but this is just a posters that Drew Struzan painted. It's kind of funny. It's like for you to, I don't know, think about like somebody commissioned this, right? And they really wanted to really highlight like how what a genius George Lucas is, right? This is really nice way to do it. See how the sun is behind him and it's creating bloom as well. So it's kind of glowing behind him, but then it's creating this rim light over here. And then this, in order for us to see the top of Sean Connery's hat, there's a rim light put there, right? For us to see that. He does it so much. It's like his go-to. You know. Same thing here with Kurt Russell. Just highlight around the back of him. When you do that, don't you have to show a light source? That's my problem with it. Is if this guy's in a dark cave, what is the source of the light, right? See how like he looks like he's blocking the sun, right? This guy. Yeah, it could just be, like in the old days, it's just put a flashlight behind him or something. There's a window or something like that behind him. This was great. This is like, I don't know where that light is coming from, but it looks like the building, the temple behind him is on fire, right? And that's casting a rim light on the right hand side, of him, right? But that's beautifully done. Look at the way that rim light wraps around the clothing and the drapery here. The form of the pants right here are really showing through. It looks three-dimensional. Yeah. But this is, if you just type in rim lighting, you could see a lot of examples. I mean, these are extreme, right? That's just, we don't want to paint that because otherwise, the subject matter is just going to get lost, right? Over here, a lot gets lost here, but this is all about the rim lighting. So usually, rim lights are accompanied by what's called a fill light, which is something in the front that's also lighting it, so that you've got this really bright rim around the edge of the object or the person, but then there's also a light down here that's creating some bounce light on this side of it. Because otherwise you won't see anything on our side of it. It'll just kind of look like this, right? Um, that's the idea behind rim lighting. Um, so, that said, genius, what do we do with the rim light, right? It's going to be hard. They could be a torch. They could be, I'm not sure, but there would have to be something behind this guy to create.
Like, you know how, like, sometimes when you go into temples and they have lights?
Torches?
Like, torches hanging?
There could be a torch of some sort.
Or, like there's, like, a ledge where they have fire.
Mm-hmm.
What if the carpets on the wall were illuminated?
Oh. That'd be cool.
Like on
Like his powers are causing the back of it to illuminate or something.
Mm.
So be the same color, but
That'd be neat. I don't know. Some kind of a. Let's look up temple carving. Temple carvings. Fifth element. The Fifth Element rocks were really good. Stones. That movie still holds up, man.
I was blown away.
That's cool. I like that. Something like that. Maybe some wavy lines or something. We could try that. It would have to be. It would have to have a hot spot. Is the tricky part about it. But we could try it. And it would hopefully be a different color than the magic that he's creating. So right now we're starting to enter into a dangerous realm of how many colors are in are inside our painting. Like, is this going to look like a rainbow? Like at the end of the day, are we going with too many colors? Is the question. But I think we could get away with like a green because the background's currently green. So I'm just gonna start it off with that, and then we'll see what we do from there. So I'm used to the rim light coming in from like the top and a little bit to the side. So I think that's what we're gonna do here. I'm just gonna paint in. You could see what I'm doing here. This palette is reminding me of John Watkiss, which is also kind of good. Anybody know or remember who John Watkiss was? Okay. John Watkiss was the concept illustrator for Disney's Tarzan. And when that movie came out and the art book came out, it was so good to see his paintings. They were so beautifully done. They're so beautifully done that I have to show you right now.
This professor?
Yeah.
Can you pull up you know how I showed you the color table?
The color table.
The color picker square.
Oh. What do you?
So you see how you can pick the color?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Is there a way where you can keep it on the desktop on the workspace?
I think there is. over here. Is that it? Where is it? There's something here where you can actually.
Okay. Yeah, because I just wanted to.
I'm not sure though, but in general, I don't need it. But okay, back to John Watkiss. Um, if you look at John Watkiss Tarzan, you'll see some of the best paintings, out there on this stuff. This guy was so dang good. Uh, Guess you'll have to see it this way. But see that? Just looks so good, these paintings. If you guys are into, doing a more animated thing, but also kind of in between animation and illustration, this this guy John Watkiss is definitely somebody you should look at. See here, rim lighting, all painted in with like blobby paint, which is great.
John who?
John Watkiss, Watkiss. Unfortunately, John Watkiss passed away not too long ago. He was very young when he passed away. But you can also see how he picks really interesting points of view for his compositions. He's one of few artists out there that puts figures right on the edge of the composition. Usually, you have a tendency to want to center people, but right here, like Christ, obviously in this image would be the center of the composition. You've got a man who is pointing to him, right, saying, "Look here," right, but he's off on the side of the composition, which is interesting. Even here, So, really, really great painter. Also, really great just drawer as well. He did a lot of amazing storyboards here. Um, Definitely an artist you should look up. John Watkiss. Okay. So, look up the people who are great and see if you can get inspired. So the way I'm painting this right now is with a relatively soft brush, but when I change my brush size to be smaller, I get a nice thin, line, and then I'll enlarge it and just try to get in sort of the gradient fill, and it also makes it feel like it's glowing a little bit, which helps feel more like it's light, you know. And so I'm just painting this in kind of a sickly green. We don't know. Maybe he's in a swamp or something. I'm not sure. But elements of this, like right here, really remind me of how John Watkiss would render, right? Where it's kind of got this hard thing, and then it kind of gradiates a little bit.
So that's the gradient and thin brush.
Yeah, so you go thin, and then you get the nice defined edge, and then you kind of go a little thicker, and it just kind of gives it the glow around there, right? Same thing here. Like, I'm sure. See, now we've turned the shadow part into a core shadow, which is great, right? You guys remember core shadows?
How is it that you remember if this says 45 and then that's the brush is?
Oh, this is a really, really high resolution image.
Oh. Is it like a particular brush from your collection?
Yeah, this was Probably like you see under Jamie's brush, it's the soft round. It's just the fifth one down. Yeah, you guys have this. If you grabbed it, see here. Now you generally want to keep the rim light to just the outer edge, because once it starts getting in here too much, it could not look like rim light anymore. But it could be, yeah, it could be. I don't know. I'm kind of going more off of feeling than logic right now. Probably shouldn't as a teacher, but you can see how just painting this in, and I'm kind of thinking about what kind of a shadow would this knife cast on there. And again, I don't want you to look down here, so I'm just gonna, do a little bit of that, and that's it. Don't go overboard.
Does he have a cape on?
He has a hood and a cape. Yeah, he has a cape. Which reminds me, part of this cape might also get hit a little bit with rim light. Just a little bit here and there. So the way I'm doing this form language stuff right now is the light that's coming from the right hand side is green, right? The light coming from here is going to be red. Something like that. And yeah, we may have to justify this. I can't come up with anything right now.
With the staff? How do you go on?
It's on the inside, and so probably only where it kind of sticks out a little bit more will it have it. It's tricky. Again, where's my focus? I kind of want my focus to be up here more, and not so much all the other places. Right. So here, I'm gonna cheat. It's gonna put in some mystery glows. I'm not sure what it is yet, but make sure that it's like a nice abstract shape. Like, what do I mean by that? I mean, don't make them all the same size. Don't make them all lined up with one another. Kind of have like a little bit of depth. This is kind of feeling like there's fairies in this cave or something, but that's fine. So,
Which is pretty cool.
yeah, there's little. We could paint in like a little wing right here. Magic. Magic is real here in this world. Alright, so we justified. Yeah. So, right. So that's kind of how I would treat that kind of rim light. Not everywhere. Like, the wrong way to approach this, let me show you the wrong way. The wrong way to approach this would be an even brush all the way around, whether if it's from the right or the left or the top, or even the bottom, like it's all even. That feels like a student thing to do. It would feel like a mistake in my mind if you were to do it this way, right? This would just feel like you're outlining it instead of actually thinking about the rim light like it was light, you know? This almost feels like he's a neon sign or something, right? That would not be right to do, right? You have to be aware of what direction the light is coming from as well. So don't do what I just did there. Undo. Okay. Other things you can do is just on one spot of this thing, just make it really, really pop. And I'm not sure. I'm just gonna make it so, I don't know, the brightest bright it could get before it just turns into something else. Something like that. So that's rim lighting. Wait, hold on. Where are we? We're at 31 minutes. Okay, last thing I'm going to do to it when we come back, adding final textures, brush strokes, any last minute post-processing stuff. Okay?